Welcome to the Friends of NPACE Podcast, brought to you by Haleon. As a leading global consumer healthcare company, Haleon is dedicated to delivering better everyday health with humanity. Known for trusted brands like Advil, Excedrin, and Voltaren, Haleon leverages science, innovation, and human understanding. Haleon is proud to collaborate with NPACE to educate healthcare professionals about our pain portfolio and the latest healthcare information. For more information, visit www.haleonhealthpartners.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Friends of NPACE Podcast. I'm Terry Schmidt, the Executive Director, and I'm so excited about today's podcast. I have the very famous Dr. Efrat LaMandre here with us. Dr. E. She's the NP with the PhD, right? Is that how you're known?
That's right. You have to rhyme it or else it doesn't work.
I love it. You're a medical disruptor. You're a family nurse practitioner, but you have a PhD in functional medicine. You're an author, and you're getting ready to write another book. We just talked about that. You own EG Healthcare, the practice, EG Prep, the education company, which is fantastic, by the way, and one of our partners, Hawk Scribe Company, which every clinician needs. And you have your own podcast.
I do.
Right?
Yeah,
is it the
thanks for
Medical
having
Disruptor?
me.
Is that the name of the podcast?
Yeah, it's called The Medical Disruptor.
All right. You own everything. Then you fit the topic because we're doing a series.
I own
APP.
everything.
You do too. APP entrepreneurship. Thank you for being here.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. I know your time is in demand. You're a woman in demand.
What could be better than serving other NPs? I love being here.
Thank you. I agree. And I really want to empower with this series all of our colleagues to just do it. And I'm preaching to the choir. You know how many years I'm like, I really should just start practice on my own on the side, like I need one more thing to do. But it's really that, God, could I really even pull it off? It just seems so daunting. So we're going to talk about that. So
yeah, let's talk about it.
When did you start your first business?
So 2014, I started my own business. And as I walk you kind of through my various businesses, you will see that I am like the Forrest Gump of business. I don't make any business plans. I don't do market research. I just kind of like, I think this is a good idea. Let's see if it flies. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I have T-shirts of a few failed companies as well. Which my entire family wears on holidays as a reminder of like, remember Sunshine Infusions? That one didn't last too long. So, so my practice opened up in 2014, EG Healthcare. The initial idea behind it, in addition to taking insurance, was to create a place for people who don't have insurance to get amazing care, that not too expensive, right? Because you have some people who can certainly get Medicaid or in a clinic, and then those who are lucky and fortunate enough to have insurance. But there is a huge community of hardworking people, myself included. I have insurance from my wife, right? So a huge community of humans who want quality care, not in a clinic setting, but in a way that's affordable, right? They don't necessarily want to pay the cost of concierge medicine. So that's how we started. And it became, the short story is now we serve over 20,000 patients. We serve pediatric, adults. We have house calls. We have about 8 NPs that work for us. And we are the only practice in the area that really defines itself. While we serve everyone, but it also is particularly friendly to the LGBT community and the Black and Brown community. So that's EG Healthcare.
Okay, I love that. It's a value system of mine. I worked for years. My first job as an NP was unsolicited story time. The listeners know.
All podcast is unsolicited story time. That's what makes a great podcast.
I worked for a nurse practitioner-owned clinic in the Ozarks in rural Missouri, where you couldn't get a physician. I drove an hour into clinic to see patients, and no one had health insurance. They were farmers. They were waitresses. They were truck drivers, and had legitimate medical concerns, and she charged cash price for a visit and had a huge practice serving a huge community of people who just couldn't get healthcare anywhere else.
It's a myth that people who don't have insurance are lazy people. These are probably the hardest working people in America who have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, but none of them offer benefits.
Right.
Yeah, and they need a place.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah. So what was that like, that first business in
Oh my
20?
God. So the first business, as I said, Forrest Gump, I didn't even know I needed a collaborating physician at the time. Like I didn't even know. When I tell you I did no research, I worked for a PA in New Jersey who owned his own clinic. And I was like, oh, this is cool. He owns his own clinic. I could do this. Not realizing that in New York, like the laws were not the same for PA. I'm telling you, I did no research. I didn't realize that laws were different for NPs and PAs. I didn't realize that New York was not the same as New Jersey. So I got a call from my kid's pediatrician, and she's like, I'm retiring, and I remember that you're an NP. Do you want to take over this practice? I'm like, yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. I just showed up and I just started renovating. If I tell you, I didn't even know what credentialing was. Okay, so like the first 6 months, I just saw people for free. I would take their insurance card and not know what to do with it. I had no systems in place. Like I cannot tell you, I cannot communicate how much I did not know. And then I learned you have to get credentialed, and then I learned what billing is, and I like just nothing. I knew medicine, and that's it. Nothing about how to run a clinic. And so when we hit 5 patients a week, we were really excited. Not 5 patients a day, like 5 patients a week. We got really excited. Most of the time, I spent looking at the wallpaper, which I tore down because I had nothing but time in my hands. So that was the first practice. And when I got that practice, there was a pediatrician down the street, and I said, hey, just want to let you know, introduce myself. Yeah, I kind of knew him from around the way. I will introduce myself. I just took over so-and-so's practice. I'm not stepping on toes. I don't see babies. I'm going to send any babies your way. And I'm a family practice, so I will see adults. And he's like, oh, no, you're not stepping on toes. In fact, I would like to retire by next year, and I hope you buy me out. So I was like, sure, I'll do that.
That was the answer. Of course. I'll buy your practice too.
My wife is always like, shut up. So of course I'll buy you out. And so within a year, I had not recovered yet the money that I put into the first practice, right? Because we spruced it up. We took down the Mickey Mouse wallpaper from 1974, and we spruced it up. And a year later, I find myself buying this doctor's practice, getting into more debt, but suddenly going from like 5 patients a week to a solid 25 a day, like overnight.
Wow.
And then, by then I had learned I need to be credentialed. But then I was like, this is so cool. Like you could just acquire a practice and triple the amount of patients you have overnight. This is cool. I didn't know the words mergers and acquisitions yet. I was just like, oh, this is a thing I should do. So I looked around for other retiring physicians, and I did it again. I found a physician that she was ready to go. And for those of you who don't know, you can't really buy a practice. You can't buy patients. That's not something that you do. You can buy a building, you can buy equipment, and then maybe in an arrangement where the retiring provider will send a letter to their patients endorsing you. But that's it. The patients can leave, they can stay. There's no guarantee. You can't purchase a practice. And so we did that. And she endorsed us. We were relatively close to her office, and we went from 25 to 40 overnight a day. I remember.
Now you need more providers.
Well, not yet. First, I needed a scribe.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's the next.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know. Should I keep going? Do you need to? I don't
know. No, this is so good.
Okay.
I think this is such a good conversation because most of us are like, God, I don't know. And you're just like, just do it.
Just do it. I mean, we're going to get to like the heart. It's just doing it. And like, I tell this story and I'm truly not embellishing. I'm probably overselling. If you think I know what I was doing, then I'm not even telling the story right, because I knew nothing. I just knew to say yes. Because I just really truly believe I'm going to figure it out. Like, because this is where I tell people who are in nursing school and they do physicals, and I'll come back to the scribe thing in a second. And they're like, oh my God, nursing school's so hard. I'm like, take a look at the hospital. There's some pretty dumb nurses out there, and they passed. and they passed. So sis, you're going to be all right. And they're like, oh my God, you're right. And that's how I feel about business. Like there's some pretty questionable business people out there. And I'm like, I think I could do it. Like what? I don't know. That's just maybe I have this internal optimistic bias. So we're 40 patients a day. I'm barely keeping up with charts. At this point, I'm the only provider. And I'm just like ripping my hair out because it's overnight. It's not a gradual, you go from 20 to 21 and you develop a system and right. So it's like, it was literally overnight. She sent the letter out in December, January 1. We're like, you have 40 on the schedule. I'm like, I don't know how to do 40. P.S. And by the way, we do 70 now. So 40. So
I remember some urgent care days and numbers like that, like during flu season, and you just go home and just lay on the floor. Like I saw 100 pediatric patients today.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, I need a scribe. This is before AI. This is before COVID, in fact. And so the idea of scribes, like in a private practice, was not really well developed. But I found this company that it was offshore team in India, and first I hired a nursing student, and it was great. It was great. It was, a little difficult because if she was on vacation or took a day off, like your day was pretty messed up. But it was great to have somebody in the room. But then when she finished nursing school, she, went off, and I was like, oh man, what do I do now? And the thought of training, not just training one person, but being dependent on one person only for a practice that's growing, it didn't seem to make sense to me. So I reached out to a company that they offered virtual scribes. Back then, that meant actual humans. And the idea of offshore was not as popular as it is now. But I was like, this is pretty cool. And it introduced me to two scribes, these two women in India. And we just became fast friends. And I was like, I should just open up my own company.
And so you did.
And so I did. And they were kind of like, yeah. So I go home to my wife and I'm like, should I just open up my own scribe company? And she's like, of course you should. And I was like, you were supposed to say no. Like that was your cue to say no. Aww. And she's like, no, of course you should. So I do. I opened up my own company. At first it was just for me because I worked with women in India who the culture there for these particular women is that they could not work out of the house. But if they could work from home and their families allowed it, because it's nighttime work, then they can provide food for their families. So it became like this mission-driven little micro company. But then my colleagues asked me about it. And so I was like, oh, I can get you another one. Well, fast forward to now we have like 20 employees in India. Wow. Yeah. So, and we pivoted a little bit since then because with the advent of AI, some people are moved over to AI scribes. And so now we offer virtual assistants. People need virtual assistants. So one way or the other, we still have offshore people that work for various colleagues. And it's great because these people set their rate. So there's no exploitation. This is really important. Like, yes, it's cheaper for us in the American economy, but they set their rate. So if they're comfortable with this rate, it's a win-win. And that's really important to me. So that's Hawk Scribes. I feel like nice. I should take a pause because I could keep going.
Well, we're going to do another podcast with you later in this season, talking about yet another company, because my guess is you were in clinical precepting students and then you started an education company.
Pretty much. Okay, so we're not going to talk about EG prep until our next podcast. That is a teaser. Right. Now you have to come to the next podcast.
Right.
But for a little while, I did have another company called A New Method. I'm going to say this really fast. And that was more integrative medicine. And that came from my wife's personal journey. I started seeing patients one-on-one. It became national, became international. We had patients from all over the world. And then one-on-one became too much. The demand was too much. So I closed that down. And I do one-to-many. I speak on stages. I have a podcast called The Medical Disruptor. And yeah, so that's where we are right now. But I want to I want to tie this back to our listener.
Yeah. So what's the biggest obstacle for the rest of us out here? And can we get past it?
Yeah. The biggest obstacle. So I know you're going to have a podcast with a great company called Duet. and I'm honored to consult for them. And one of the things I do in Duet is I mentor NPs who are thinking about starting their own practice or are in the early stages of their own practice, like under 100 patients. And so I get, I'm honored to be part of their journey. We meet once a month. By the way, anyone's listening, it's completely free. It's a great space to be in. But the thing that comes up over and over again, you would think that the issue is money, a space, marketing, how do I get patients? You would think that's the issue, but that is not the issue. The issue is 100% mindset. It's 100% mindset. And the mindset comes from, listen, most of the NPs, I don't know the statistics on PA, so forgive my ignorance, but most of the NPs are female. Many of them are from underserved communities. Many of them, they're the first professionals in their families. And the thought that they can own something and do well and succeed is not something they ever grew up with. And so they have immense amount of lifetime of messaging of who do you think you are? A lifetime of messaging of like, this space is not for you. A lifetime of messaging of like, they've already hit their ceiling. Like some of them, being a nurse was already so much, let alone a nurse practitioner, let alone owning your own place. A lot of them don't have any type of financial literacy. And so they think that, oh my God, they shouldn't do it. And so what I'm fight most of the time, or what I empower most of the time with these amazing humans, is just getting them to clear those cobwebs out of their head. Because the rest will come. Like you will find a spot, patients will come, but this internal feeling of like, I don't know if I could do this, right? It's not really your voice. Like this is what I tell everyone. Your voice, your true inner voice can only be positive. So if you are hearing something negative, that is not your voice. That's society's voice. If you hear, should you really do this? That's not you. That is some sort of imprinting from somebody else in your life. Because your inner voice is only like, of course we could do this. Like your inner voice only speaks positively. The fears, the concerns, the doubt, those are not yours. Those were given to you. Sometimes by well-meaning people, like, oh, don't take a risk, stay safe. Why do you want to rock the boat? Like, it's not always malicious, but well-meaning people are operating from their own fears. So mindset is the number one barrier, whether it's opening a practice, opening your second location, hiring the next MP, going on to another venture. It's always mindset.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. I was just thinking about, yes, being female. And yes, just the nursing profession in general is always like, no, you need someone else to tell you what to do. You need someone else to take an order. Who are you to think that you could manage patients by yourself? Or
yeah, absolutely. And then we believe it. And then we believe it. Listen, I'm not saying there's not a learning curve. Of course there's a learning curve. I mean, I'm not one of those people who think, oh, you graduate, you could do everything. I mean, clearly, I just told you my story. I didn't even know, I didn't know a single thing. There's certainly a learning curve. Also, clinically, there's a learning curve. But the thing is that you think that other people didn't have that learning curve. Like they just came out of the womb knowing all this stuff. No, they had a learning curve. Now, some of them had a shorter learning curve because they watched their parents already own businesses or have a practice or, go to school. So like, if you're like, my children grew up in a household of educated women who already had their business. So they are already leaps and bounds ahead of someone who didn't, right? Like, so a lot of the people you're looking at and thinking, oh my God, how do they know so much? Yeah. I mean, they had a learning curve. It just might have been earlier on. But everyone has a learning curve. No one comes out of this knowing, absolutely no one.
So how do we get over that? Like, what is like one thing, if people are just thinking, I really would like to start XYZ business, like what should they do? Fill out a business form, file with just start.
Just start. Like people start to overthink it so much. And this is why I also don't write a business plan. everything, and then what will we be? And I need something that has 3 rooms because one day I'm going to have a procedure, and then I want to add like Botox. Like you're already like thinking 6 steps ahead, and so you're thinking what you need, and now you can't afford it now. Analysis paralysis. Just start. There is no way to prepare for a business. I don't care what business it is.
Okay.
There's no way to prepare. Like even with workflow, sometimes we'll start a workflow. We like in the office. I'm like, let's just start this workflow, and as we start this workflow, we'll see what works, what doesn't work, and then we'll fix the workflow.
Right.
Right. There's just no way of getting it right. So you want to be you just need to lean into your values. Like, and for me, my values are integrity, transparency, and family. These are my values. And as long as every decision falls in line with that, like if someone offers me something, I know we talked earlier about some offers that are shady. Somebody offers me something, does it pass my integrity test?
Right.
Is it transparent? Can I show this to anyone in the world? And is it good for my family? So if the answer is yes, that's it. That's the only litmus test that I need. That would be, and the rest is details. You'll figure it out.
I would argue too, you don't need a state with full practice authority. We talked about my first job was in Missouri, where they don't have full practice authority. They were the last state to even allow APPs to write controlled substances.
I'm so glad you brought that up, the the full practice authority. I'm glad you brought it up for 2 reasons. One, because many people who are just scared to start are using that as an excuse. Because you and I know that every single state, even with the most restrictive licensing, there are NPs who are doing it. Mm-hmm. So they figured it out. And so for those of you who are like, well, I would if it wasn't for this, I just need you to know that that's an excuse. And if tomorrow there was full practice authority, you would find a different reason. Because when you want something, you just do it. You just do it. Right. And so it's question yourself. If that's the only thing holding you back, question whether you really have other fears and you're using that as like, well, if only I could. Right. Because especially in this day and age, there's collab docs, there's companies that do it. I don't know if I'm saying their name right. I'm not affiliated, but there's companies that do it. The doctors themselves are more aware and willing to do it. There's a way. And side note, you can have a business that's not a practice.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Like that.
Like what?
Well, that's the reason I brought up my companies, right? Because look, I own a scribe company. You don't have to be a clinician or practicing for that. I own an education company. For a long time, I did functional health. Now, functional health is for educational purposes only. You're not practicing. You're not prescribing. So you can cross state lines. I can give you education about nutrition. Right? I don't need a doctor for that. I need an online platform. So there are so many things that you can do. You can run. We have an NP that we know that runs house calls, like nursing house calls, not an NP house calls, nursing house calls. So she runs that company. She makes millions of dollars running that company. So there's so many businesses that you can do that don't have to be clinical or practice. So if you're someone who wants that's the thing. You need to know if you're someone who wants to own a business. So I teach this class here in our local college of healthcare policy and finance. And one of the lectures is about opening up your practice. And I kind of go through it, what it looks like in each business and what you give up for it. There's ups and downs, which I could bring up in a second. But at the end of the day, I say to them, one of 2 things will happen at the end of this lecture. You're either going to be so nauseous from everything I'm describing, and you're going to know that you never want to open up a business, or you're going to be like, I don't care what you say, E, I still want to own my own spot. And if you're someone who wants to own your own spot, find a way. And if you're someone who's either not sure or a little hesitant, then stop thinking about it and go and have a killer career working for someone else. Like, let it go. Because that's okay too. Just let it go and go be the CEO of somebody else's company. But don't stay on the fence, because that's just torture.
Yeah. And it's not fair to you.
Yeah.
Or the people around you. So you brought up things that people give up. I mean, there's there's a trade-off, right? You can't have everything. What is that in owning your own?
So there's a trade-off. When you own your own business, especially in the beginning years, you have given your soul over to the business. So you have to know your why. Like if you're going into business thinking, oh, I'll have more flexibility with time, I'll be able to go on vacation whenever I want to. That is a no. Maybe 10 years later, that is a no. If you think, oh, I'm going to make so much money eventually, but not in the beginning. If you want your business to succeed in the beginning stages, you give it your life. It means letting go of, if you have another job, you're letting go of that job with all of its perks, its benefits. It means for a long time I had no benefits also.
Same.
Right? It means that if it's a practice, you're the one that's on call 24/7 because there's no one else yet. If it's a business, you're the one who's worried about everything. If you have a brick and mortar, then in addition to your patients, you're worried about the plumbing, the heating, the electric, the shoveling, right? So you are responsible for all of it. So it's a 24/7. It's like another child. It's a 24/7 thing that you give your heart and soul to if you wanted to succeed. On the flip side, if you're mission driven, you can create something that is very impactful to the world, whether it's your world or the world at large, depending on how big you want to do it. And you can drive how the company shows up in the world. So my practice, it's a smaller practice relative to a hospital. And we have this big local hospital. We cannot compete with that salary. But here's where we compete. We shut down every day for lunch so everybody sits down and eats together. We have a washer and dryer on site because most of my team don't have a washer and dryer at home, so they bring it to work. If their children are school age, they can use their lunch to go pick up their children. Their children can sit in our place to do homework. We close on Fridays to make sure everybody has one weekday where they can get their stuff done because weekends they can't go to their doctors or their hairdressers or their manicure places or whatever. So I can drive that. I could decide that that's what the company looks like. We've been screening for food scarcity and safety way before it was mandatory in our practice because that's something that we felt we need to do. We provide microloans for our team members. We dedicate staff to making sure that at the next day after your visit, one of my VAs overseas, is going to call to make sure is everything okay? Go smoothly yesterday? Are you missing anything? Oh no, I didn't get my prescription. Now that is a position that makes no money. It just spends money, but that is important for us so that our customers feel that they had the best experience, even though they didn't go to this big hospital setting. So I decide that is what our practice is going to look like. Right. And that's the upside of owning your own business. I don't have to ask anyone, is it okay that I'm spending X amount of money to have someone make sure our patients are okay? Yeah. Is it okay that we're completely closing for lunch so that everybody actually eats? Right. So I don't have to run this by anyone. And that's the upside. If you are mission driven, yes, you will also make money eventually. Eventually. Anyway, I feel like I've talked too much, but those are the upsides and the downsides.
No, that was fantastic. And I think that's powerful because most of us get here into this profession, into seeing patients because we feel like we can make a difference, right? We stick with it. And when we're constrained by systems, the only way you can change that is to do your own thing and make it better.
Yes.
Right? Make a better system. Make your own better system.
Make your own better system. And for those who stay in the system, I think a lot of people can be really impactful in corporations as well. Me personally, I would have an allergic reaction if I had to clock in and clock out.
It's someone telling you what to do all the time. How would that go?
Yeah, like in the beginning days when it was like really hard, sometimes I would like come home to my wife and be like, what am I doing? And she'd be like, okay, then shut it all down and go work for a hospital. And I would say, oh my God, I'm no longer sad. Like, that's what I mean when I say, for the people who want it no matter what. Like for me, the thought of working for a bigger company actually takes my breath away. Mm-hmm. I was never a good employee. I didn't know why. But now I know why.
No, I like that. And that's the other thing. You could start this, and if it doesn't go great, you can always just stop. Nothing says you have to do it forever. Like
100%. And
just
many
stop.
of the NPs who start their own practices will keep their job, will start their practice like in the nights and the weekends, make sure that they like it and let it take off a little bit. And then maybe they go down to part-time and then they up it. And that's how most people do it. That's a safer way to do it. You don't have to be completely insane like me. But I also had a support system. Like my wife really helped me during those times. Like she carried us. But you don't have to do it that way. You could definitely keep your legs in both worlds, see how it goes before you let go.
I like that. We should shout out your wife, who is also a clinician.
Oh, yeah.
She knows the system. It's not.
So my wife is Gina LaMandre, and now she's Dr. Gina LaMandre because she just got her doctorate of medical science. But she is a PA, physician assistant, physician associate now. And so, yes, not only can NPs and PAs get along, but they can get married. And none of what I have now would be possible without her.
Oh,
100%.
yeah. Good support system is always great.
Yeah, it'd be really hard to do it if your partner is like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Right.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of times I hear from the NPs that their partners are just like, you could do this. We got this. And it's like the NPs still have this like issue, but their partners are often very much like, rah, rah, we could do it. And they, create support, which is wonderful. But I just want to say your point is really important. I think we should surface it. You don't have to stay anywhere that you're not happy. Like not just opening up your own spot, like anywhere that you're not happy, just get up and go. And that transcends business, work, your relationship. We have X amount of time on this planet. You deserve to be happy.
Agreed. And you can always turn right around and sell that practice to someone else and leave and go work for someone else.
Or if it's not sellable, cut your losses. Like, maybe you invested a little bit of money, but if you're miserable,
right.
Sometimes the exit is rough.
Yeah. Yeah. But not a failure. Exit is never a failure. It's just
oh my God, exit's never a failure. I've at some point, remember when infusions were really exciting?
Oh, yes.
I opened up an infusion spot. Complete wasted effort. I told you I still have those t-shirts. Lost a lot of money, bought, the equipment, did all the things, lost a lot of money. I do not consider that a failure because I learned so much. Every single time I pivot, even if there's money lost, I consider it tuition.
Yeah.
It's the best school I learned so much about infusions. I learned some certain decisions that I made. I now can mentor other people and they're like, should I do infusions? I'm like, well, let me give you the real finances behind infusions because people do the wrong math around infusions. So I don't regret a single mistake.
I love that. That's so great. That's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll be talking to Duet in the future. Where do people find your podcast at again? Where is it at?
So if you look at my name in any platform, you'll find it. But The Medical Disruptor on Spotify, Apple, and we are in the top 200 in the world for alternative health.
Yes.
Yes, which is a big deal for nurse practitioners. And we are number 188 at last count. And so for those NPs who don't even want to open up their practice, do a podcast. There's a million things you can do. Just do it.
I love that. Just do it. We're just going to steal.
We're just going to steal it.
Nike, don't sue us. We didn't take your swish, but we want NPs to do it. There's plenty of patients to see. Oh,
just start. We'll just say just start. Just start.
There you go. Just start. Dr. E, thanks for being here. I appreciate this and encourage us to get over ourselves, basically.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. For all our listeners, thank you for being here. You can find all things NPACE at www.npace.org. We have ANCC approved CE, and now we're doing CME credit through AAPA because all of the APPs are in the same boat. In my
I love
opinion.
That so much. APPs all in the same boat, rowed together.
We are. We're gonna look. A rising tide lifts all boats. We got to help everybody.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We're gonna sign out. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. E, and we'll catch you in the next part of this series.
Absolutely.